Welcome to episode 4 of My Lights, the true story of living an authentic life. I'm your host, Christopher McClellan. My Lights is the true story of Steve Zeiger on how to survive a childhood different from others and thrive in an adult world that discourages those who don't quite fit into society's expectations. In episode 4, Steve passionately talks about how he grew up in fear all the time, and how his time and experience in the Air Force helped him turn his fear into goals. Now, let's enjoy a sample of Steve's passion and learn how joining the Air Force taught him to let go of fear and embrace his natural leadership talents and skills. And I'll see you on the other side of the podcast.
I grew up in fear all the time. I mean, I was afraid of everything and everybody because I was being picked on so much. But when I joined the military and I gained my own strength and stuff like that, that fear turned into goals. I mean, if I felt fearful of something, I went for it. I mean, I took the risk and I went for it to face that fear and go past it, which I did. I became a leader, a sergeant, and I retired from the military, facing all of those fears, knowing that I could do it. I mean, I could do it if given the chance, and having certain people in my life that gave me the confidence to do it. The fear, I don't have the fears I used to have anymore because I faced them and I went past them and I moved on. And when you face a fear and you go past it, you realize what you're really made of. And that's where you need to stay, because that's where you develop things to happen in life for yourself and for others. You don't care. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks of you at all. It only matters what you think of yourself. And if you're afraid to do something, that should give you the power to do it even more. Just do it, hit it. And you're going to fall, you're going to stumble. Nothing's perfect. I mean, I've fallen and stumbled a lot, but the confidence and the drive to do the right thing made me get up and hit it even harder, because you matter. We all matter. I made a difference in the military with the people that were put in my path. And once I retired from that, I got civilian jobs, and some of those were a little, I was a little fearful in them making the money that I was making. But I did it. I mean, you don't know what you're made of until you're faced with a fear. And then you hit that fear and move past it. Then you realize, I'm doing pretty good. And then that also builds confidence in yourself. And that also builds massive self-esteem. Because once you start loving who you are and the confidence that you have in yourself, nobody can take that away. They can talk about you, but that's all projection or conjecture, whatever you want to look at it as. That's their issue, not yours. When I started giving back to the community, when I made that wreath laying ceremony happen, I thought this was my opportunity to go down, because I was already involved with the community just a little bit. But when Pride moved downtown in St. Louis that year, I thought that was a very nice opportunity to use the Soldiers Memorial as a backdrop to honor. My whole reason to do the wreath laying ceremony was to honor all of those folks who served and died for our country in fear of letting anybody know who they were, even though at the times, the eras that they served, they weren't accepted. They were considered damaged. They were considered not equal to their peers because of their sexuality. I thought that was bullshit. I created that wreath laying ceremony, hired a lady playing taps, got a speaker, did my own speech, and made that ceremony happen, honoring all those people who served in silence. That is a fear. I validated their existences and let those fears go away, because I validated their existence by doing that wreath laying ceremony and serving this wonderful country. That is, when I did that wreath laying ceremony, that was the most powerful thing. It was the first time it's ever been done in this country and in St. Louis. And I laid a rainbow wreath at the cenotaph in the middle of our Soldiers Memorial, honoring these wonderful people who served in silence. And that, wouldn't have happened if I would have been cowering and crying and probably killed myself, which I thought about a couple times, would never have happened if I wouldn't have taken a stand at that age to do that. How old was I? Probably in my late 40s when I did that. In 2013, I was probably 50. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, that wouldn't have never happened if I wouldn't have stood on my own 2 feet and showed the world who I was. Fearful and all. I was a lot of times shaking in my boots, but I tell you what, there was nobody going to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. Whether it was a wreath-laying ceremony, joining the military, or whatever. Nobody's going to stop me from doing that. From that wreath-laying ceremony, everything came from that. I became a commissioner to the Soldiers Memorial downtown. The first time a gay man was ever... let me backtrack just a little bit. They put me on the board as commissioner. A year later, they wanted new blood in there. The board asked me to be the chairman of the board for the Veterans Day Parade as a commissioner for the Soldiers Memorial. They elected me as chairman of the board, and I put that Veterans Day Parade on for 4 years. I did that with my board. That was another first that I did. Another first was while I was sitting there, I went to Scott Air Force Base and put my LGBT tent in between the Hispanic Month and Women's Heritage Month. In my booth sat there with the 2 rainbow flags flying high on Scott Air Force Base, letting people know, hey, you're a part of this community too. You're part of the military. The military is not just made up of straight white people. It's made up of everybody. And I did a lot of stuff like that in that time to let people know, you matter. We all matter. We're in the country. This country was founded on ideals that everybody can share. Everybody counts. Everybody matters. Not just the 1%. Not just the white people. We all collectively make this country happen. And if you think otherwise than that, like I say in my speeches, I have a list of countries you can go to who share your ideology if you don't think anybody else matters except you. Here's a list. I can give it to you. But in this country, that's not allowed. And I will not stand for that. And so the fear that I've conquered a lot of my fears. I still have a few fears here and there, like reverting back based on different administrations or whatever. But I think that there's enough movement in this country that probably won't happen. But I stay strong with my belief that I'm an American. I served my country, sacrificed myself to serve this country, to make sure we all live freely here. I don't care who you are, gay, straight, Muslim, black. I don't care. We're all part of this country. And so the fears that I had growing up and in the military and coming out, they're all gone. I have enough strength in me. I'm educated enough to know that if somebody comes at me, I'll stand my ground and be like, who are you? I'll stand my ground and push back. Because you don't have any right to say stuff like, to make somebody feel like they're not welcome here. I was raised with that. I was raised being made to feel like I didn't belong or I was damaged. I'll be goddamn if I let that happen anymore. And, if you want to empower yourself by doing that too, do it. You stand your ground and be true to who you are. And make sure that stands for you.
Thank you, Steve, for your service to our country and your courage to share your story so that we all can find a way to shed our fears. And we'll have more about Steve's dedicated service to our country in a future episode. But in the meantime, be sure to pick up a copy of Steve's book, My Lights, The True Story of an Authentic Life, now available on Amazon, and be sure to subscribe to My Lights wherever you listen to your favorite podcast so you don't miss an episode of Steve offering encouragement, hope, and validation of the importance of being true to your authentic self. I'm your host, Christopher McClellan. We'll see you next week for episode 5 of My Lights, as Steve continues to illuminate us about the importance of living an authentic life.